The history of Dragon Ball AF has no boundaries as the story of Xicor comes to life, arriving on Earth in hopes of finding his father Goku, threatening to wipe out all life until he can find him in this Part 1 Dragon Ball fan manga special. As once more before we begin, if you are new to this channel and of course love Dragon Ball and anime, then don't forget to go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to never miss a single upload. And if you guys just so happen to love Dragon Ball and anime, then be sure to go ahead and slap a like down below. And if you guys want to go ahead and read up on more Dragon Ball fan-made mangas created by the community for the community, then be sure to go ahead and click the description box down below and check out all of your favorite Dragon Ball fan mangas located down in the description for the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist. As we kick off Toyble's Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 1, as the narration goes on ahead to introduce us to a time where Frieza was shown floating in space following his battle against Goku. As the narration goes on to state, time traces back a bit directly after Son Goku, who had awakened his Super Saiyan, defeating Frieza, the ruler of the entire universe, on a distant planet known as Planet Namek. While he received Goku's final attack, Frieza barely managed to survive, which, when going back to King Cold's original ship while searching for his son, members of King Cold's army go on to cry out, "We found Frieza-sama, King Cold!" As King Cold on the ship is scrambling and trying to find his son, he goes on to cry out, "Frieza!" as he looks outside of his window and noticing Frieza in a very dire state. Meanwhile, back inside of the rejuvenation chamber, Frieza is beginning to heal. As King Cold overlooks this, he goes on to beg the question, how could this be? To a mere Saiyan! As right next to King Cold, we notice a very mysterious figure having to stare back inside. As Frieza's own oxygen mask comes off of his face, Frieza goes on to cry out, "It hurts, Papa! Mama!" But as Frieza calls for his parents, his mother doesn't seem to be concerned at all. Instead, she actually walks away. As King Cold, while staring back at his son, cries out, "We will definitely extract revenge for him." As Frieza's mother leaves, Cooler steps out and having to cry out, "Mother!" and having to follow by letting her know, "Frieza, he's alive?" As his mother turns around, she goes on to acknowledge her son by having to tell him, "I have no idea about that near-dead fool. I no longer need a son who isn't the best in the universe." And as everyone overhears this, everyone is shocked, including Cooler. As she goes on to walk on by, she goes on to tell one of the henchmen there, "Prepare a ship immediately." As one of the henchmen cries out, "Huh? Oh yes, ma'am." As Frieza's mother, who is also a Kaioshin, goes on to say to herself, "The Saiyan who brought down Frieza, that far-named Son Goku, just what kind of man is he? I want to know. He will become my key to universal conquest. I must reach contact with him before Cold and the others do." As she quickly turns back around, she goes on to scream out, "Hurry up and get it ready! I am leaving immediately!" As the henchmen who serve under King Cold go on to agree, the narration continues and having to state, "And now, several decades time has passed. A crisis unlike any before it has drawn near the peaceful Earth." As of course Goku's history carries on after his initial battle with Frieza, the narration goes on to state, up until now, Son Goku and the other warriors of Earth have saved the planet from the attacks of Cell, Majin Buu, and numerous others. Even afterwards, the Earth was threatened countless times. But Goku and the others came to save the world by growing stronger each time. And so Goku's role finally came to an end, and he vanished from the living world together with Shenron. The Earth was deprived of both Goku and the Dragon Balls. However, the world had obtained peace in return, basically going through Goku's entire history, in his battle against the androids, in his battle against Majin Buu, in his battle against Baby, Super Android 17, the Shadow Dragons, and of course many others. Of course, discontinuing Dragon Ball Super for this timeline, Dragon Ball Super had never occurred to begin with, so instead, this directly follows the events of Dragon Ball GT instead of Dragon Ball Super. As of course, when we go back to planet Earth, the narration goes on to state this is the college in Satan City, Orange Star University. And inside of it, we notice how Gohan is continuing his studies. He's pursuing his life in a different way, in not following the direct footsteps of having to be a warrior per se, but continuing his studies and formulating a business. That's what Gohan has become. As his old classmate Erisa walks on in, she goes on to overhear Gohan on the phone having to state, well, right, the academic conference tomorrow. I'm a little disposed at the moment, as she goes on to ask, Professor? As Gohan quickly turns around, he goes on to ask her, could we handle this later? As Erisa goes on to tell him, well, it's already time for your lecture. As Gohan quickly slams his phone, he doesn't know what to do, but instead he panics. As all of the books that are surrounding him come crashing down on top of him, Gohan goes on to state, the lecture, I had forgotten. Okay, as we later see Gohan, who of course now is a professor, walk on into his classroom, he goes on to state, I sure wish that I could have focused solely on my research, but that'd be impossible. I'm the only one in the family that works. Oh well, right then, let's begin. As inside of the classroom, Gohan goes on to state, as can be seen above, since the habitat of the 7-colored wart frog are few and far in between. As we notice in the classroom, Goten is actually attending this lecture, but he doesn't seem to be paying attention, but instead, he's goofing off, he's talking to his friends, basically not paying attention, as one of his classmates goes on to state, you know what I heard? This is just what I heard, but I heard that an alien is really a shaven ape. As the other classmates alongside Goten go on to cry out, for real? As Gohan notices this, he notices that Goten isn't paying attention, so he's beginning to get very irritated because Goten only seems to be concerned in small talk and of course girls. As over on the loudspeaker, a voice cries out, a robbery has occurred in Key Bird Town. I will repeat, those in Key Bird Town, this is an emergency broadcast, basically letting all the students know that something bad is of course happening, but Goten being Goten, he doesn't seem to care. He's talking to girls, he's doing what he has to do in order to secure his position of being someone that's not quite like his brother or even his father, but instead, as Gohan walks on over, he goes on to cry out, Goten! Didn't you just hear the broadcast? Get going already! As Goten cries out, no way, I'm busy today. As Gohan goes on to scream at Goten and stating, I don't see how going to see an ape is busy. I'll cut your allowance right now. As Goten goes on to tell his brother, you wouldn't! Because the only thing Goten seems to care about while in school are his friends and talking to girls. And as of course Goten steps out and having to be on the roof's building, he goes on to say to himself, unlike my brother, I don't happen to like anything troublesome. Oh well, alright then. Transform! As Goten transforms into the Great Saiyan Man number 3. As Goten goes on ahead to cry out, now! Where are you villains? As he leaps up and trying to fly to the city and finding out what exactly is going on, unbeknownst to everyone, Pilaf and his gang are once again up to no good, as Pilaf holds a little girl hostage as he goes on ahead to cry out, hey, stay back if you value this girl's life. As the public looks on, Pilaf continues, damn it, why are we doing this? She goes on ahead to tell Pilaf, it can't be helped, Pilaf-sama. We've spent too much money on developing combat machines. We don't have anything left for living expenses. As Shu agrees because it looks like that Pilaf and the gang have spent all of their money trying to develop combat machines instead of living comfortably. But then, as the Great Saiyan Man number 3 arrives, he goes on to cry out, hey villains, prepare yourselves. The Great Saiyan Man number 3 is, but right before he can actually finish, the public looks up as they point out and having to state, it's Papaya Man, which of course secretly is Majub. And as Majub looks on down, he goes on to tell everyone please step aside, and Goten is pissed. He goes on to cry out, Oob! As Oob steps on down, he goes on ahead to address Pilaf and the gang, now villains, come and get it. As Pilaf, Mai, and Shu begin to shoot directly at Oob, he quickly dodges the bullets, knocks all of them aside, putting them down and having to rid the city of crime once more. And the public is cheering on Oob, and Goten, noticeably enough, is very upset. He goes on to say to himself, just where do I stand in all of this? As a newspaper just happens to fly into his face, Goten quickly looks on down as he notices that the ranking order for the city's heroes are Oob, Mr. Satan, the original Great Saiyan number 2, and as Goten is trying to find his name, he ends up being number 100 on the very bottom. And then he's pissed because he goes on to say to himself, 100? I knew it would be a shock, but whatever, I'm going home. So Goten of course understands that even though he is on the very bottom of the list, he goes home disappointed, but not after noticing that 2 Saiyan space pods, just so have happened to crash somewhere near the city. As of course we notice 2 individuals having to stand on overlooking the city, a mysterious warrior goes on to utter out, "So this is Earth, where Father is from," as the Kaioshin with him, who just so happens to be Frieza and Cooler's mother, goes on to tell him, yes it is. The time to fulfill our parent-child ambitions has finally come. As the individual goes on to laugh to himself, he goes on to cry out, "I, Xicor, the heir of my father, Son Goku, the mightiest in the universe. Xicor has finally arrived." But then, as Xicor overlooks and notices someone flying, he spots Goten. As Goten seems to be flying by himself, still disappointed that he's dead last on the heroes ranking list, he goes on to say to himself, "I wish that Oob would just use a little bit more courtesy." As the Kaioshin also spots Goten, she goes on to state, "We've already found you, Son Goten." And as Goten continues to go home, he goes on to say to himself, "Oh man, I wonder if everyone already went home." But then, just as quickly as it happened, Xicor dashes on in, cutting Goten off from going home. As Goten is shocked, he goes on to state, "Gah! Who are you?" As Xicor goes on to ask Goten, "Are you Goten?" And Goten quickly panics. He puts on his helmet as he quickly scrambles in, stating, I'm not! I'm the Great Saiyan." But Xicor doesn't care, but instead, he sticks his hands out, eerily smiling at Goten as he proceeds to tell him, "Die." And Goten, understanding that this is no longer a laughing matter, Xicor unleashes such a powerful attack that Goten ends up getting blasted nearly into an oblivion. And this blast in and of itself is so powerful that it not only consumes Goten entirely, but even Gohan, who's in the city, feels the attack, but also feels that Goten's energy has significantly dropped. As Gohan goes on to state, "Goten, what is the deal with this ridiculously large key?" As even the people in the city are beginning to feel an earthquake and having to state, "Whoa, what was that? It's an earthquake, what's going on?" As everyone is panicking because the blast in and of itself was so powerful that it created shockwaves shaking all the cities around the area. And even when going back to Xicor after having to attack Goten, we notice Goten on the floor, barely clinging on to his life. As Xicor looks down upon him, he goes on to state, "So, he's still alive." As his mother turns around, she goes on to acknowledge something and having to state, "Someone's coming." As Gohan wastes no time in swooping on in, he cries out, "Goten! Goten! Are you okay, Goten?" As the Supreme Kai looks on, she goes on to acknowledge Gohan and having to state, "Good. It's Gohan." And as Gohan is panicking, clinging onto his brother, Goten barely utters the words, big bro." As Xicor touches back down, Gohan slowly takes off his glasses as he turns around and acknowledging him and having to state, "Was it you that did this? Who are you?" As Xicor replies, "So, your son Gohan. Why do you have such a pathetic energy?" As Gohan so angrily goes on to ask him again, "I am asking you who you are." As Xicor goes on to reply, "Me? Why, I'm your little brother." As Gohan is shocked, he goes on to beg the question, What? Little brother? Who are you trying to fool? Listen up. The only little brother I have is Goten here." As Xicor laughs in his face, he goes on to reply, "Ha ha ha! You two do indeed have a strain of these pathetic earthlings in your blood, don't you?" Which, as Xicor says this, Trunks and Vegeta arrive, quickly having to feel out the shockwave sent out by Xicor. As Gohan quickly acknowledges both of them, Xicor goes on to state, "Even more of them, huh? Saiyans, that is. As the Saiyans gather, Vegeta goes on to state so he's the one who beat Goten, with Gohan having to state yes. What does this all mean? As Xicor goes on ahead to introduce himself in acknowledging what had just happened, he goes on to tell the Saiyans, I have the ultimate body that possesses the genes of both the strongest warrior and deity in the universe. I am Xicor. As Gohan goes on to quickly respond by asking the strongest warrior in the universe, deity? What are you talking about? As the Supreme Kai quickly moves in between Vegeta and Gohan, she goes on to tell them both, allow me to explain. As both Gohan and Vegeta are shocked that she had moved this quickly behind them, they go on to ask, are you on our side? When did you get there? As the Supreme Kai goes on to answer, Zycor's father is Son Goku, the same as yours. But it's only your mothers that are different. I, a goddess, am his mother. As everyone's jaw drops, Gohan goes on to beg the question, what? You expect us to believe that? As at this point, I don't think that the Supreme Kai actually cares if they believe her or not, but she quickly moves out of the way as she goes on to tell Gohan and Vegeta, I'm here, fools. As Gohan goes on to acknowledge instantaneous movements. What? With Vegeta having to cry out, hey, you're both speaking gibberish. What's your objective? What did you come to Earth for? As Xicor goes on to answer him, objective? That's simple. I am the heir to Son Goku who boasted the most power in the entire universe. I will rule the entire universe in my father's stead. It won't be any of you. As Gohan goes on to reply to Xicor, he goes on to state, hey, have you made some sort of a mistake? Father was strong, but he doesn't rule the universe. And we don't plan on ruling it either. As the Supreme Kai butts in, she goes on to reply, such barefaced lies. Xicor, don't be swayed by them. Kill them and you will become the ruler of the universe. As Xicor smiles, Gohan goes on to scream out, whatever the case, get lost! You guys don't belong here! As Xicor truly does not care of the warnings and threats made by our heroes, as he quickly gathers up enough energy in raising his right hand and completely shooting off a massive energy blast that is so powerful and so massive in size that Gohan, Trunks, Vegeta, everyone notices that the direction in which Xicor had fired off this energy blast wasn't directed towards them, but instead the city that awaits them over the horizon. So Xicor, what he ended up doing was annihilating an entire city with just one simple blast. As Gohan, Trunks, Vegeta, everyone cries out, oh no! Xicor had done exactly what Majin Vegeta had done, and that's completely set an example by eradicating all life within one particular city. As our heroes go on to cry out, the land got plowed over! What are you doing? And Zycor's attack was so massive and so powerful that it literally scourged 1/3 of the earth. So any inhabitants that were residing in that part of the sector in which Xicor was aiming was instantly killed off by his blast. As Xicor goes on to state, is it important? The earth which you've spent your time with, father, that is. As Gohan angrily goes on to cry out, why? You! Xicor continues to laugh as he goes on ahead to acknowledge Gohan by stating, I am going to make you all disappear. Both you and this planet. As at this point, all bets are off, but the first person to step up to Xicor is Vegeta. As Vegeta goes on to reply to Xicor, he goes on to state, hey, I've been listening to you for a while about who's the strongest in the universe. You better listen up. I'm going to teach you who's really the strongest warrior in the universe, right now. As Vegeta quickly powers up from base all the way to Super Saiyan 4, we finally have ourselves the enabled fight and the first fight between Xicor and one of our heroes, as that being Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. And as Vegeta rushes on in, Gohan goes on to cry out, wait, Vegeta! but Xicor doesn't seem to be concerned at all, but instead, he goes on to state, "Ho ho, so you're Vegeta, aren't you?" And as Vegeta dashes on in, he is the first one to connect the punch, but Xicor blocks. And as Xicor blocks the punch, he looks back at Vegeta, smiling very ominously as Vegeta once again attempts to attack him once more, zipping on behind him, attempting to kick him, but as soon as he does so, Xicor grabs onto Vegeta's leg. And as Xicor does so, he prevents Vegeta from further kicking him and instead retaliates by punching Vegeta directly in the abdominals, which at that point we see how Vegeta is slowly staggering back just only based off one punch alone. As Vegeta's clinching onto his stomach, he's coughing up spit, everyone is shocked. As Xicor walks on over, he grabs Vegeta by the top of the skull, raises him up by the hair as he goes on to ask, "Whoa there, you're this bad with just a single punch? Your royal blood weeps, Vegeta," further mocking him in the idea that all it really took to put Vegeta down was one punch to the gut. As even then, Trunks calls out "Father," with Gohan having to quickly take action and having to state, "Damn it." Trunks immediately acknowledges that Gohan's about to step in, as Trunks goes on to state, "Gohan, I'll join you." As Gohan stops him, he goes on to tell Trunks, "You take Goten and get out of here." But the minute Gohan says that to Trunks, he looks back on over as he notices Xicor kicking Vegeta up in the sky. And as he does so, Xicor follows him as Vegeta's body is sent hurtling up in the air. Xicor follows up by unleashing a massive energy blast and having to tell Vegeta, "May the entire Earth be gone, Vegeta." As Gohan cries out, "No! Not good! No!" As Gohan then quickly takes action, transforming himself in growing a tail and finally also being able to achieve Super Saiyan 4. As Trunks can't believe his eyes, he cries out, "Impossible!" As Gohan becomes the third individual to now officially achieve Super Saiyan 4, the blast that initially carries Vegeta back down to the ground, in which Xicor promises that this blast alone is not only going to kill Vegeta, but destroy the entire planet as well. Super Saiyan 4 Gohan takes no liberty in allowing this to happen, as Gohan quickly charges up enough energy and firing off directly at Zycor's blast, liberating the energy ball from hitting the ground and away from Vegeta. As Vegeta's body hits the floor, the energy ball dissipates up in the sky. As Gohan is left huffing and puffing, Trunks goes on to state even Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan 4? But that doesn't slow Xicor down, but instead, as soon as Xicor makes his way towards Vegeta, as Vegeta is proceeding to stand back up, Xicor takes it upon himself to stomp Vegeta's face back down into the floor, not allowing him to stand back up. And as both Gohan and Trunks look on, Xicor, as he's stomping Vegeta's face into the ground, proceeds to state, "Hurry up and come at me, son Gohan. Or do you plan on watching from there until this one dies?" Basically implying that if Gohan doesn't do anything about it, he is going to crush Vegeta's face into the ground, in which he proceeds to do so, in which the force that Xicor is using in pressing down on Vegeta's face is so intense that Vegeta's eyes are seemingly enough going blank. You can feel the bone-rattling cracks as his face is being pressed down, as Gohan cries out, "You bastard!" But right before Gohan is about to make the initial move, instead, Vegeta's son Trunks swoops on in, transforming into a Super Saiyan, and as he attempts to attack Xicor, Gohan quickly cries out, "Trunks!" But Trunks, in his attempts of stopping Xicor, completely backfires as Xicor moves out of the way, laughing at Trunks, as he later proceeds to one-shot Trunks into the ground. And as Gohan looks on, he cries out, "Stop, you dummy, no!" Because Trunks at this point literally has no chance against him. But even after Trunks got one-shotted down into the dirt, he tries to get back up only to find Xicor in his face, sticking his hand out ready to kill him. As Xicor goes on ahead to acknowledge Trunks, he goes on to tell him, "So, you're a Saiyan 2. If you are, you're pathetic. You're too weak." So now make haste and be gone. As seconds right before Xicor is about to kill Trunks, Gohan swoops on in from behind and punching Xicor with such a thunderous left hook that it sends Xicor flying away, but instead of Xicor being hurt, instead, he acknowledges this by smiling in Gohan's face again. So once more, we have Gohan right back on Xicor even after having to be at a significant disadvantage. Gohan doesn't seem to let up, but as Xicor begins to feel the effects of Gohan, Xicor begins to fight back, uppercutting Gohan once, in which causes Gohan to stagger back. And as the two later go on to acknowledge each other, Xicor goes on to state, "So, you finally feel like fighting, do you, Gohan? Come and get some. I'm going to kill you." As Gohan begins to raise his power level more and more and more, so does Xicor. As Xicor continues to tell Gohan, "Let me tell you right now that I am not here to enjoy a battle. I won't be pulling any punches." As Trunks, Vegeta, Goten, everyone is basically immobile, Gohan is practically the only person that can stand in Zycor's way. And as the Supreme Kai looks on, she begins to laugh as she goes on to state, "This is perfect." But unbeknownst to her, she is actually being watched by Shin over in the realm of the Supreme Kais. As Shin goes on to ask, Is that the West Kaioshin? Ancestor! As the Elder Kai seems to be focused on other things, he goes on to state, "A Kaioshin must never forget the power of concentration. You must concentrate." As Shin runs on over, he goes on to cry out, "Ancestor! There's a situation!" And as the massive cubicle falls down on one of the students, he goes on to state, "Forgive me, are you alright?" As the Elder Kai was basically squished, he goes on to scream out, Are you trying to kill me, you dumbass? What is going on? The Western Supreme Kai, you say? As Shin goes on to state, Yes, sir, there's no doubt." As the Elder Kai goes on to respond, "But weren't all of the other Kaioshin except for you killed by Majin Buu?" As Shin goes on to state, "Yes, that's right. She should have been killed by that detestable Majin Buu. But what is going on here?" As back on the battlefield, Gohan once again is getting bodied. As Xicor laughs, he goes on to tell him, "Don't even joke." As Vegeta stands back up by Trunks, Vegeta goes on to state, "It's useless. Gohan doesn't have a chance." As Trunks carries Vegeta on over, he goes on to tell his father, "I've got it. Father, all you and Gohan have to do is fuse." As Vegeta goes on to state, "No, that's not the problem. Nothing will work against him. Damn it all. This is one fine mess." As Gohan is on the floor aching in agony, he goes on to state, "The difference in our power levels is huge. This is bad. I don't have a chance. I can't protect the Earth. What should I do? Father, please tell me." As Trunks recommends fusion, Vegeta suggests that there's nothing they can do to stop him, as Gohan at this point realizes that the difference between his Super Saiyan 4 power and Zycor's is massively different. As meanwhile, down in Hell, we notice how a telephone is beginning to ring, as one of the Hell minions goes on to answer and having to state, "Yes, this is Hell Ani who is speaking," as he quickly goes on to inform one of his buddies and having to state, "This is from the realm of the Kaioshin. There's a little something I wanted to ask you." As of course, one of them goes on to state, "Well, is it Goku-san down there too?" As Piccolo in the background overhears this, he goes on to state, "Did you say Goku?" As Piccolo quickly grabs onto the phone, he goes on to inform the other members on the other line, Son Goku took leave from this world. He shouldn't be in either this world or the next. But immediately right behind Piccolo, we notice how Frieza and Cell appear, as Frieza and Cell go on to cry out, "Ha ha ha! So here you are, Namekian. We're going to dispose of you this time." As Piccolo makes easy work of both Frieza and Cell, he goes back on the phone as he continues, "Sorry, but I'm kind of busy at the moment. I don't know who you are, but just give up." As he quickly hangs up the phone, the messenger goes on ahead to tell the Kaioshins, "Kaioshin-sama, Goku-san wasn't in Hell either. They said he took leave from this world or something like that." As the Elder Kai goes on to state, so he wasn't there either. As Kabito Kai goes on to state, "So Goku isn't really nowhere to be found? What is going on?" As the Elder Kai goes on to state, "No, I definitely sensed Goku's soul back then. There's no doubting that, but he passed through Hell with Shenron, but what's going on? He took leave from this world." Could he have went to that world? Far above the skies of the realm of the Kaioshin? As the narration goes on to state, neither in this world nor the next, and a world not in the realm of the Kaioshin. There is a world whose very existence has long been forgotten. As we notice both Pikkon and Goku in this mysterious world, Pikkon goes on ahead to tell Goku, "I still can't believe that you've chose to come to this world." As Goku answers, "Ain't no helping it. After all, it was only to save the Earth at the time. And be that as it may, Pikkon, you are here keeping me company, aren't you?" As Pikkon goes on to state, "Don't get things mixed up. I only came here because I was asked by the Grand Kaio-sama." As Goku cracks his knuckles, he goes on to tell Pikkon, "Well, either way, I'm just grateful to have myself a training partner. Come on, let's do some sparring, Pikkon." As the manga chapter comes to a close, part 1 has concluded, as I do encourage you guys to tune back in for part 2 of the Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 2 special. So, in this manga chapter, several things were established. Number 1, Super Saiyan 4 is nowhere near the caliber of Xicor's power. Number 2, Goku had taken Pikkon to an unknown realm in order to train and get stronger, unbeknownst to anyone that's asking for where Goku's whereabouts are. So nobody seems to know where exactly Goku had gone except for the Grand Kaio-sama. Number 3, it looks like everyone who's on Earth is basically under the vice grip of Xicor, given his overall power and the fact that he hasn't transformed and he has natural power that far even surpasses Super Saiyan 4. So what I really enjoyed about this is having the early slice of life moments with Goten, Gohan, and the rest of the gang before running into trouble, but it also looks like the West Supreme Kai is controlling Xicor's mind and allowing him to believe that Gohan, Trunks, Vegeta, Goten secretly want to rule the universe when in fact they don't. So again, we are going to have a massive follow-up video to this, so make sure you guys go on ahead and tune back in for more. Thank you all so much for watching this video, part 1 of the Dragon Ball AF manga chapter special. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to go on ahead and show your support by slapping a big fat like down below. If you guys are new to this channel and of course want more Dragon Ball fan mangas and content, then be sure to go on ahead and hit that subscribe button by clicking on the bell icon. That way you guys can stay in the loop whenever a brand new video is posted. Check out more of your favorite Dragon Ball fan mangas located down in the description box below. Tune back in for the next episode, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead. Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck, someone? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!